road is very bumpy.
Yeah, this is really bumpy.
Our guide, Fukru, led us to the holy site that lured thousands here. A church reputed to float on water.
And so you're saying that this valley, what I'm seeing now as a remote village, just a few villagers, this would have been thousands of people, a kingdom.
Yes, imagine what like 1,000 years ago was lots of people settling here.
In 1087, this was the center of the Christian kingdom of Yemrahana Christos. According to church chronicles, he commanded that a church should be built on top of a holy lake.
Wow, that is quite a hike.
That's really high.
Whoa, so that's the cave there?
This is a cave.
And the church is right inside?
Just there.
Incredible.
Some believe the king was guided to this isolated spot by a vision. But the cave was also a practical choice. It shelters the church from the elements, preserving it for almost 1,000 years.
Look at this location. You climb all the way up here. I mean, no wonder they thought this was a sacred place. All inside the cave, isn't it?
All inside the cave.
Incredible.
Inside the gated enclosure that covers the mouth of the cave is the church, the king's palace, and a graveyard for thousands of pilgrims who died here.
So this building here is the church?
Yeah, this is the church.
The church was built up in alternating levels of wood and plaster mixed with stone chips, like a layer cake. But today there's no sign of the lake of mystical healing waters that lured pilgrims from hundreds, even thousands of miles away. Unless you know where to look.
Oh, there's a door here.
If you look at it.
Oh yeah, look at that. Okay, so that's the water underneath.
Yeah.
This is all wet underneath of here.
Yeah.
Some believe the original lake was actually swampy ground, and the church foundation a framework of timber or bamboo that evenly distributed the weight of the building above, a technique known as grillage. The groundwater trapped beneath could then be accessed through hatches like this one.
So the legend is
this
true. This is really floating on a secret lake.
Yeah. So we can
Holy
see that.
water, if you will. Huh?
Of course.
Even if this muddy water has no special curative powers, the church itself receives thousands of visitors a year and is still in active use today.
So we had to shut down filming temporarily because there's an active service going on right behind this fence here. It's actually a baptism of a young baby born in the village. So we stepped away out of respect. This service is now just concluding inside the Yemrahana Christos church here.
Once the service is over, we're free to explore the building and its medieval frescoes.
Here.
Salam.
And he's the one who's in charge.
Yes.
The church. Look at it.
Can I use this flashlight?
Please.
Oh, it's so elaborate. Beautiful.
Look at the ceiling, how nicely made it is.
Gorgeous.
Those nicely made carvings.
Yes.
Look at the fresco there.
Ah, I see.
Yeah.
Biblical symbols and,
Yes.
and stories here on the ceiling.
Yes. If you look at.
God, this is incredible. Imagine if you were a pilgrim crossing by foot, miles and miles. I mean, thousands of people would come here.
But the ultimate proof of the shrine's power is located behind the church, deep in the cave. Over the centuries, the old and sick have come here. Perhaps they hoped the waters beneath the church would save them. Or maybe they knew they would never leave this sacred spot. Here is the final resting place of King Yemrahana Christos.
The king who built this church is buried right here.
So this is where he's buried.
But he is not alone here.
The story goes that people would come and indeed some would be almost at a state of death and would actually stay here and die here in order to die in this legendary sacred space. Right underneath of my feet. Look over here, another one. There's just got to be countless bones.
Experts believe the bones of more than 10,000 people rest here in this holy cave.
Skull, 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 the teeth. Follow it up, and you are looking at a boneyard. I mean, what do you say? I'm speechless. There are countless bodies, all before me. I've never seen anything like this in my life. Many of the people here may have come from lands as far away as Egypt and elsewhere. They couldn't go to Jerusalem. I mean, like Lalibela, this place served as an alternative. Okay, this was a new Jerusalem, a place for your final resting place, a place to be closer to God.
When a Christian missionary fled from Constantinople to this remote corner of Ethiopia some 1,500 years ago, he had a vision from God, a dream of a mountaintop church carved from solid rock where he and his followers could practice his radical form of Christianity in utter solitude. According to legend, his vision would move entire mountains and create one of the most breathtaking and most treacherous places of worship on earth, up there in those steep, rocky cliffs. Over 340 miles from the modern capital of Addis Ababa are the cliffs of Tigray, and hidden inside of them are the mysterious holy objects of an ancient Christian sect, the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church. This underground location is actually high in the sky. A church carved into a sandstone cliff about 9,000 feet above sea level. To get to it, the crew and I had to climb 2,500 feet, hauling a few hundred pounds of camera gear. Luckily, our guide, Mulabrahan, who's made this journey more than 30 times, brought a group of local men to help us accomplish our mission.
So we're going up there. This is just the approach. And you can see when the whole thing goes straight up. It's going to be interesting.
The church we were hiking to is called Abuna Yamata, after the 6th century missionary who, like John the Baptist, came to the wilderness to commune with God and spread the faith. And we're the first American TV crew to make the climb.
This is by far the first major face that we're going up here. And look at these holes. These have all been worn into the rock by thousands of years of worshipers, priests and so forth, going straight up. Whoa, look at that. Down. You know what's awesome is that we got to come back down this thing.
The remote church contains copies of lost books of the Bible, still used by the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, and buried on the path along the way are the church's faithful guardians.
Wow. What is that? Appropriately right next to the path that anyone on the pilgrimage would have to pass by. These guardians. Ominous, huh? Wow, you start to get a sense of how isolated this really is. I mean, that's really the point, isn't it? That they really wanted to get away from it all. Ugh.
So this is part of the church. This is a sacred place where we take off our shoes.
Oh, okay. So from this moment on, we're in the church.
Yes, exactly.
I see. Oh, top of the world here. Nice. Heaven.
Heaven.
The church believes that over 1,000 years ago, a holy man fleeing persecution in the eastern Roman capital of Constantinople followed this same path and found safety here.
This is Abuna
Yamata.
Yamata.
Abuna Yamata is a name of the monk from one of the 9 saints who established this church at the monastery in the 6th century AD.
Okay, so 500 AD, this was done. And so they came this high up for the isolation, I suppose.
For isolation to lead spiritual life only.
Okay.
Get rid of the secular life.
And the protection, obviously, from being so far up above everything.
Exactly.
All right, can we go in?
Yeah.
Look, this sheer rock face right here. You fall off that, you are gone. The length they went to put a monastery up here on the top of a mountain. Amazing. I had no idea this was going to be as spectacular as it is. I mean, it's really extravagantly painted. What am I looking at here?
This is representing the monk on the back of the horse, which represent the founder of the monastery, Abuna Yamata, one of the 9 saints. Here you have the 9 saints.
All right.
Abuna Yamata was one of the 9 saints who fled persecution in Constantinople and found sanctuary here in northern Ethiopia. They followed a religious doctrine known as Monophysitism, which held that Jesus Christ was entirely divine, as opposed to being divine and human. As many Western Christians believed, it was a doctrine that challenged the Christian leadership, branded them as heretics, and could have cost them their lives.
Every inch of this place has a figure on it.
Yeah.
They are telling the stories and oh, I see the Virgin Mary here, definitely. Look at this incredible artwork. I mean, when the 9 saints came to Ethiopia, they brought with them an entirely new style of painting, which became a biblical teaching tool. If you want to know more about how this style of painting became an early textbook, log on to history.com/cities. Now, do people actually come and use this place presently now?
What makes very interesting is also children are baptized in here. So the women has to come up all, with these climbs.
With their babies?
With the babies on their back.
Wow.
So you see, this church is quite active every time.
All right, very important to the local community.
Very important, very important.
I see behind you there is the priest here, and so he is in charge and the guardian of the space, yes?
Yeah, he's the head of the priestess, and he's also in charge of the church.
And so he's given us permission to come up here today.
Exactly.
Thank you very much.
This priest scales the cliff several times a week, half a mile high, to tend to his local parishioners and distant visitors, spreading the church's unique vision of the Gospels.
So all these Bibles and prayer books here, he's going to show us. The priest has opened one up. Can we see inside one? These are very, very old. And hand script here and hand painted, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
On what? What is this material? It's
skin.
Sheepskin.
Sheepskin.
Uh-huh. Can I page? Oh, thank you. Oh, yeah, and this language is which?
Geese.
Geese. This is the oldest language in Ethiopia. It's like the equivalent of Latin.
Exactly.
For them. How close is the Ethiopian Orthodox Church to that which an American would know?
Well, in Ethiopia, the Orthodox Church, we have some more books like this, which are, partly from the Bible, partly outside the Bible.
Yeah.
For example, Miracle of Saint Mary is only in Ethiopia. You don't find somewhere else in the world.
Right. Different customs, of course, a different language.
Yeah.
All kinds of things that a Western Christian might find strange.
Yeah.
Really erupted from a totally unique culture, a different religion. Thank you so much. Yahanigeli. When Abuna Yamata came here with the other 8 saints, they brought a totally unique brand of Christianity to Ethiopia, one very different from what we're used to in the West. I mean, it involved different rituals, different lost books. It really was a whole unique view of Christianity. And it was mysterious because it was isolated, cut off from the rest of the world. And that mystery really continues today.
Today, Christianity has spread to every corner of the world. But here, in the isolated highlands of Ethiopia, you can see how Jesus' early disciples may have worshipped. A priceless glimpse into the past, safely stored away in the underground.